Welcome, everyone. I am so pleased to be popping in today, just prior to the weekend, to help you put a little bit of a play back into your lives or in your lives. Part of the play part of Power Purpose Play, I'll be talking to different experts who are going to be helping you put a little fun in your lives and maybe help you to explore things that you have always wanted to, but never really have done so far. And so it's all about really enjoying life and living in the moment. And especially these days, we kind of need that. How can we bring a little bit more fun and creativity and joy in our lives? Very, very pleased to have a talk today with the lovely Ashley Ann Pereira. And and Ashley is a story coach, and she is the founder of the Studio Press. And Ashley, you help coaches connect and serve the community by writing books.
Exactly.
Maybe you can tell us a little bit about what you do and share your story, and just so pleased to have you here today.
Thank you so much. And for the community as well. I think it's so important. And I know I'm a young face, but I think I really live this message of, just kind of going for it and really not waiting for life, right? Like not waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect time to do something.
Right.
And I feel like that's just something that I stand for so much. And so I think it's such a powerful message for other women to see that, right? And I think they can see that and be inspired by that through other women. And, for me, part of like my journey has been about taking imperfect action and just kind of like going with the inspiration, the spark of inspiration that I get, or the ideas that come to me. And that was, I've been mulling over this idea of the Studio Press, and I really wanted to create a space for coaches and entrepreneurs who wanted to write their story, who wanted to tell their story and put a book out there in the world. And I really wanted to create a one-stop shop. And that's where the Studio Press came to be. I'm a published author myself, and I published my book back in 2017. I wanted to write a book because I wanted other people to not be unhappy. And that was the mission. That was the goal. Nothing else.
Great mission.
And I just went with it. And it's beautiful how, and I always say, like, I never expected how good life was going to get, because I just decided to take that action. And I feel like that's just something that I've continuously did. I started with, before I even put my book out there, I was speaking. And for me, it was just do it. Like, do something that's going to throw you off and kind of get you outside of your comfort zone. But I think no matter what, the core of why I was doing everything was to help people. I just wanted to help people. So whenever I had a burst of inspiration that I thought, oh, this could really probably help someone, I would just go ahead and do it. And that's been like my driving force.
Right. And is that what you teach people to do? Like, how do people, sometimes I think the biggest block is people are afraid, right? They don't take the action because they're afraid. So how would you tell people to get over that? And just to take action? Like, what's the main message that you have for your...
Yeah, that is the number one thing that stops us is fear. Like we have a choice in, and this is where I've even had to shift my own perspective, because I think it's so easy for us to get caught up in fear and get paralyzed by fear, and also kind of play into the role of, no matter what, it's all fear, but imposter syndrome. We start to compare ourselves and we think that we're not ready. We start to doubt ourselves. All of it's just fear anyways. But I always think about, and this is where a really big shift happened even for myself, because I was operating from that place, but I had to look at my life and look at where I was operating from. And we have two choices: either operate from fear or operate from love.
Yeah.
And when we operate from love, we're just showing up to help people and serve people. And I had to just be very aware and conscious of that, and just continue to push myself to remind myself to say, do this for other people. And kind of get out of your own way and put your ego to the side, because that's all it is. It's just our ego that's kind of like stepping in to say, don't do that. That's really uncomfortable, right? The most important thing is when you have some kind of idea and you have some kind of inspiration, something that comes to you and you say, I really want to do this, before anything else comes, like the fear kind of creeps in, I honestly say, take action on something. Take action on one piece of it. And that's where you already start to see, you can push past the fear a little bit. It's going to be there, But I feel like it's if you allow it to stop you.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what it comes down to, is if you allow the fear to stop you and paralyze you, then you're going to stay there. You're never going to move forward. But action is the only way that you can combat fear and you can combat self-doubt or imposter syndrome is
Mm-hmm.
by taking action. If it's something that is just like writing just for yourself, I would say just pick up the pen, pick up a paper, and just allow yourself to write.
Yeah.
If you're doing something that's more focused and intentionally for a book, then I would even break it down even further and just start thinking about, ask yourself, what am I going to write about?
Yeah.
What's the book going to be about? What would bring me the most joy? Ask yourself why you want to become an author. Ask yourself, if you were to decide to write this book, who would the book be for?
Mm-hmm.
Those are already, when you start to think about those things, those are already little steps forward that are so crucial in
Sure.
the book writing process.
Yeah.
Um, and people kind of often skip over that part. I have a notebook that's still, and I still like, I can visually see it, but I went down and I created my own list. I call it my fuel list.
Yeah.
And all the things that I know that I can help people with. So it's basically a list of all the things that I've overcome in my lifetime. Yes,
Yeah.
I know it's short, but there's things that I've overcome, and it can be the smallest thing.
Yeah.
And I always recommend for people to go and just make their own list, because you'll be so amazed to see, and don't discredit the little tiny things.
Yeah.
You'll be able to just, I think it's something that, and that's why I call it your fuel list, because it gives you that fuel, that
Yeah.
inspiration that you need. Behind every single one of those things that you've written down on this fuel list
Yeah.
is there's a story behind each and every one of those things.
Right.
It's just about, and the thing is too, oftentimes when we think about our stories, and this is where I tell a lot of people, they think they have to put everything into one story. They
Yeah.
think just, I only have one. But we actually all have so many stories. We all have so many different chapters in our lives.
Yeah.
So every year or every obstacle that you've overcome is kind of like its own chapter.
Right.
And that's the exact perspective that I always show people. And it creates a little bit of a shift, because then they think, oh, so I don't have to include this,
Yeah.
and this.
You just focus on one thing or two things. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, I would say the key to telling a powerful story is having one message. That's one thing that we don't, because we're trying to put all these things together, we lose our audience when we can have just one thing,
Yeah.
focus on one message, and that's what makes it so much more powerful.
Compelling, right? That's awesome.
Exactly. You can do so much great in the world, and your story matters. The things that you've gone through are enough. I have built just everything. The business that I've created has only been on my story. And that's where it's all started. So your story is a powerful starting point. If you're thinking about doing anything,
Yeah.
you've been thinking about doing a business or something along those lines, start with yourself and start with your story.
Perfect. That's amazing. Amazing tip. Thanks so much, Ashley.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful weekend.
You too.
And everybody enjoy Weekend of Play. Take care.